November 2014, an understrength South African team against a full-strength Wales in front of a passionate home crowd, all sensing the opportunity for a rare South African scalp. The ingredients spelt more potential for bad than good.
That is not good. South African players stay down.
That moment, I'm getting goosebumps again just talking about it. Just seeing him there with that big injury.
I didn't even think about the World Cup. I just worried about his safety and if he's going to be all right.
I remember that day in Cardiff. He was in a lot of pain. Yes, a lot of goosebumps now. You know, the words that he said was, Op, I think this is the last game of my life.
I remember seeing, tears in his dad's eyes and these kind of tears in Jean's eyes.
The scream was the same as 2002, you must say. The feeling was the same. This time I was convinced he would never play again.
A terrible moment. I felt physically ill when I actually saw the mechanics of what had happened to his knee. You could see the pain in his face, and it wasn't just the pain of what he was experiencing then, but I knew what lay ahead, the journey and the timing of the injury.
I think when the injury occurred, his first reaction was, that's it.
I was there when he found his wife, and that's when I realized, that this could maybe be the end of his World Cups.
He instantly knew his prognosis. His dream of leading his country to a World Cup 9 months later was in jeopardy. But he had been here before, many times. Adversity had been a constant throughout his career. As he was driven off the Cardiff turf, he had already mentally committed himself to one final road to recovery. And as if the physical and mental pressures of getting himself ready for selection were not enough, Jean and his wife Marley faced the normal everyday challenges of family life as well. Their third child and first son was born just days after Jean's reconstructive surgery. And with Dad continuing to accept the ongoing media, sponsorship and ambassadorial duties of a Springbok captain in amongst his intense rehabilitation schedule, work-life balance is more than just a little difficult to achieve.
Dance, Lana's dance.
I would say away from home, probably 6 months of the year. And I suppose you get used to it. It's tough at times. I think it's especially tough. It's especially tough on the wives, and because you're sort of used to it. But she's not used to that. Die gesprang?
Ja.
Mooi, kaboomies.
Pushing off much better.
See. Just check the left, and you can actually pick up quite a lot by analysing it and just going through it to see if I'm favouring one leg or not. Improvement of the stride length, running style has improved. I can actually see the difference in the agility, the lateral movements. And the size of the leg increasing and obviously strengthening.
Don't cross.
And the ease,
nice.
On the left leg, being able to push off the left and having confidence actually stepping and moving off it.
Obviously, there's lots of components. We've done a complete musculoskeletal screening of Jean where we've identified what he's at risk for injury besides his knee that we're rehabilitating. It's all transitional, so you'll do a little bit with Steph and then a little bit with the team until he's doing full sessions with the team.
I won't say I'm running at 100% yet.
When we started running, I think Jean was very honest with me and said, look, I'm not feeling confident. It's mental. I had to say, but you're okay to do this, you can do it. And I think there's going to be that huge mental component when he has to start taking contact.
Players are so used to being top of their game, being in control of things, performing, that a lot of them do derive their self-worth and the feel-good effect from their performance. I think one of the key factors affecting them during rehab is the whole thing around uncertainty. What if I can't get back in time? What if my performance isn't the same as it's been before? What if the injury doesn't heal?
A lot of guys would have cracked by now because there was time pressures, a lot, with a massive injury like that, 6 months to get ready, for a World Cup, most people wouldn't make it.
It's no use just running straight lines all the time and doing gym work, straight lines, but you're not actually moving and turning and doing things that you'll be doing in a rugby game. At the end of the day, I need to perform rugby-wise.
We had maybe a little wobble in terms of overreaching.
This week, from that week, was too much. There should have only been about a 10 to a 15% increase in load, in volume, in the numbers that we got back. John came back, he said, yes, he's feeling a little bit moeg, he's feeling a little bit tired. He's not sleeping well. A week after that, he fell sick. And then this week, he's still a little bit fluish. So we're pulling back a little bit more.
Overreaching is a normal state that an elite athlete will go into when they're training hard. They're doing intensive training, you overreach to get that effect, that overcompensatory effect of your body. You're basically becoming conditioned. You shouldn't go into overtraining. Overtraining is when it's a whole systemic exhaustion.
This is the only system literally in South Africa and maybe also the world, if I'm allowed to say that we can push John to the limit without breaking him, and in the same regard regaining movement performance and technical performance and movement ability.
I like John pushing himself. Imagine he wasn't. I'll control what we get from it. If you fall sick, we'll get you better, but don't get a lazy guy, and there's no lazy Jean de Villiers.
I think part of being a rugby player is being able to push yourself through the sort of barriers. There are going to be times when you're a little bit tired and you need a bit of motivation, and it comes quite quickly once you've got people around you that knows which buttons to push and how to get you there.
Ja. Okay. Hoor gou. Gee jouself nou. Gaan in jou kop.
Vier is reg.
Ja, nee, maar hoor gou. Je mag hier nou tussen sets russie.
Okay,
luister nou. Geef vir jouself egal. Sê vir as jy deur hierdie.
Gee my nog 'n minuut daar.
Ja, maar as jy deur hierdie 4 stelle kom nou.
Ja.
Dan
gaan verseker kort.
Okay, sal dalk kat skiet maar dan achieve ek my goal.
You want to play rugby, but you're not in a position where you can. So then sometimes frustration can get the better of you.
At this stage, it's basically killing yourself during the week, putting a lot of effort in, and then just being able to hopefully recover during the week and then do it all over again.
Having gone through what he's going through now, at the age of 26, I know what it takes. Really getting through all the hard rehab and unrewarded rehab, because when you play rugby, every weekend you run out of 50,000 people and you have a jaw on the field, and that's your reward. When you're in rehab, you work as hard, so there's no reward. There's no weekends that you enjoy. Weekends you're still working, you're sitting next to the field, you're frustrated. So mentally it's a massive thing.
For the last 4 or 5 months to be training on your own, it takes a hell of a person to do that. Doing the physio, which is painful, doing the extra sessions, which is tough on your own. There is no reward. There's no one telling you, great job, apart from yourself.
You try and stay positive as possible, but you go through ups and downs.
What sort of drives me to go through this, because there's been a lot of pain, a lot of heartache, obviously as well, and I suppose once you can get back onto the field, you can just do what you love again.
In 2013, he was a Rugby Player of the Year. He's been unbelievable. He's been respected worldwide. And you don't play 100 tests for your country if you're not a superstar, not one of the best players that's ever played in that jersey, and one of the best players in the world. And I sometimes believe because of his injuries, he doesn't always get a credit. He's a true world-class player.
World class is an accolade not easily bestowed on a player by any coach, least of all Heineke Meyer, a mentor who demands unrelenting commitment and discipline of his teams. Jean de Villiers' playing statistics more than back up the compliment though. Considering the lengthy periods he has spent away from the game due to injury since his 2002 international debut, one can only wonder as to how many more than his 106 test caps he could have won had he remained injury-free. Countless memorable tries, instinctive intercepts, and fiercely committed defence have epitomised his playing days in both green and gold and blue and white. Yet it is in the qualities that he brings to a team environment that his true greatness arguably lies. A keen and dry sense of humour speaks to a quiet intellect and an emotional intelligence so vital to thinking clearly under pressure. The ability to sum up a situation and say the right thing at the right time, whether it be to a teammate, a referee or journalist, is a gift that cannot be taught. Leadership has come naturally to him and is a responsibility he has embraced, bringing his own distinctive style to the Springbok captaincy.
He's a wily old dog. I mean, even as a youngster, he always had fantastic anticipation.
He's a great communicator, he's a great organiser, he's got a brilliant rugby brain, and that probably sets him above most people.
I mean, he's an absolute rugby geek. I've never met anyone that knows every single player, their history, who their favourite player was, where they grew up, where they went to school, how many caps they've got, how many tries they've scored.
Although he achieved a lot at a very young age, it was more important to be accepted by people as well because of your attitude. Being humble, being aware of the fact that it's a God-given talent. It's given to you, you have to make the best of it. If you don't, then you're a failure.
If you look at the presentation the All Blacks gave him for his 100th test in New Zealand, it was as good as giving one of their own a jersey. The way Richie McCaw spoke about him and spoke mainly about his qualities as a human being and not just as a rugby player.
Just quickly, can I just say on behalf of the All Blacks and I think everyone in New Zealand, congratulations John on playing your 100th test. Hey mate, we respect you hugely. You're a true gentleman of the game. You know, when you put the Springbok jersey on, you represent that with everything you'd expect, and but off the field you're a top man. So to play 100 tests, we congratulate you and we've got a small gift to present you.
Even before he got named captain, you know, he was integral part of the seniors meetings, you know, whether that be technical, whether that be something logistical. You know, John's always been a leader.
I remember the night that Henneke called him, and when he came out, I saw him in the corridor and he was like, I can't believe it, you know, and he had these tears in his eyes. He said, it's just such an amazing honour.
Being captain isn't for everybody. One of the most important things when you're captain is that you need to be a certainty in the team. Now, having played over 100 test matches, you know, that experience you can't buy anywhere.
What he is now is way beyond his years. The way he handles the press, the way he handles the downside of a Springbok loss, there is a sharp intellect there.
His preparation is world class. He'll always be the guy at training, working hard. When he speaks in a team environment, he's got this ability to always say the right thing and he speaks to your heart.
He's not someone that gets flustered very easily. He's someone that will also read panic in others and understand how to calm it down.
His clear thinking, his creative thinking and his calm thinking under pressure makes him a great leader on the pitch.
He was an incredible teammate to have in the team, very supportive and certainly provided a great leadership role within the group, you know, to our established players like the O'Garas and the O'Connells as well. So, and he's still got really strong friendships with a lot of those guys.
I mean, his diplomacy, I use the word statesman, but his ability to communicate to people, he has that ability to draw them in. And I think the knock-on effect, not only in the team, but to the direct supporters into the rugby world, he's talked about as one of the great captains in that sense, that he has that ability to do the job on and off the field.
You know, I see John just as a good mate and the funniest guy alive, man. He's got a super sharp tongue and just naughty. You know, he's just born naughty. He's got a naughty face.
He stands up for his players and he's always making decisions that's the best for his players, and that's why the guys respect him and that's why they'll make time for him.
I've really worked with unbelievable captains. I've been coaching for almost probably 30 years, and you know, John is one of the best leaders I've ever met. For me, I truly believe the image I wanted to portray for the Springboks is guys that will keep their feet on the ground and guys that's there for the country, and in that regard he's unbelievable.
You know, talent is one thing, but you know, we've got a saying as well that hard work will always be talent if talent isn't willing to work hard enough. From my wife's point of view, having 3 kids under 3 in the house and the biggest baby of them all being me, she's probably got the tougher job of the 2. You know, most of the time I don't even know what's going on here.
She's the mother of 3 kids and it's not so easy at times as well. So no, it's brilliant teamwork, just in totally different ways.
Yeah, it was hectic from the beginning, but since he's been like more professional and being captain, everyone wants a piece of him. Like he has to do all these extra appearances, all these extra media. Like he's always the last one coming out of the change rooms and after a game. And so I'm used to it. I'm used to waiting by now.
It's tough for her a lot of the times, but she knows that her husband is living his dream and he's putting so much heart and dedication and effort into this. It must obviously also be very rewarding to see him being so successful.
The countless appearances of having to show up in your green and gold blazer and having to be at every single function, all of this, has a demand not only on your ability to play the game, but a demand on your free time, on your family, on your wife.
He has the rehab, which takes up 6 hours a day. He has 3 children at home, 3.5, 18 months and 5 months. He hasn't been home for his wife's birthday for the past 6 years, I think.
Your life is consumed by getting better, everything you do is about getting your knee 100% so that you can play rugby again and have a career.
I'm not prepared to reduce the training. That's where John and I had a nice discussion, but he's still doing a lot of PR work. So he's still loading himself, flying here, flying there to do certain marketing events. That's not rest. So even though you're not training, doesn't mean that you're resting.
I think the thing that he does unbelievably well is balance. The demand is one thing, but how you handle the demand is another, and I think he handles it brilliantly.
I think the fact that there's such a big prize at the end of this journey makes it all worth it. But the time, the effort, the sacrifice, the pain, all of that.
Sometimes me and John will probably sit and say, why? Why do we play this game, or why do you want to come back? I think it's the love of the game. We understand that we've got one shot at it. While you're young, you can play rugby. Once you're older, except if you're Victor Matfield, you're out of it. You must retire. You're finished.
The nature of the injury end of last year against Wales should have put him out for a year.
I think John's just itching to get onto a rugby field, be in a team environment, because that's, in the end of the day, what we crave.
Because he has this determination, and because he has this goal, and because he has this love for the Springbok jersey, for what he does for his teammates, this is what pushes him.
We've tried to put a date on it now to be back playing the 11th of July. If everything goes according to plan and if the management and coaching staff agrees to it, hopefully I can take part in that game against the World 15.
I think that it's the perfect match for him to come back in. No pressure whatsoever to play in that game. Even if he gets on the pitch for 10, 15 minutes, I think it's something that most people would never have thought would have happened, including himself.
I'm feeling cautiously very positive about him getting back onto the pitch.
He's not going to play well in that first game. Definitely not. It's going to take 3 or 4 games for him to find a bit of form.
You know, he knows as well as anybody else the proof will be when he runs out into the line of fire.
I think the night before the first game, I think it's going to be a sleepless night.
You know, everything could be there, but mentally to go and play against people that actually want to hurt you is a different ball game.
For me, it looked like the players were so much bigger and stronger, and probably when John comes back, you'll see, yes, but these guys had a great Super Rugby, they're in form, now I must come back.
Without doubt, John will be, I mean, I'm sure there'll be degrees of being terrified.
That fear is always going to be there, but you know, I think there's a huge desire there to do well and not only get back there, but actually go out and have a chance of winning the World Cup.
It's all mental, you know, physically he's fine. It's all that mental barrier that he's got to get over. He's got to get through that first tackle.
For me, the easiest part was just to get on the field and play.
1 or 2 touches, 1 nice pass, 1 nice side step, and yeah, you'll just feel like old days.
The one thing you must understand is that yes, you've just had a massive knee op and your knee's fine, but you could go into the first tackle and bust your shoulder. You know, rugby is just one of those games.
You can never say is it realistic or isn't it realistic. I live my life day for day. I believe anything is possible, and I've learned, especially in the game of rugby, that you know, you set the limits.
If your negativity is more than your positivity, then you are going to get a negative result.
He'll be ready. I know he'll be ready. And I know I'm going to stress, and I know he's going to stress, but when he's on the field, it's going to be like, it's going to be fine, and he's going to be fine. Because he can't like worry about, oh, I'm going to get hurt, oh, this and this. He's going to have to be ready, and I'm sure he's going to be ready.
It takes 30, 40, 50 games to build up a good reputation. It takes 1 bad game to break it all down again. If I do go onto the field, I know the responsibility that goes with it. I know the responsibility that goes with, I suppose, my reputation, the team I'll be representing and all of that. So I want to be comfortable in the way that I play. I want to be comfortable in my body knowing that if my brain says I want to do this, I want to be able to react to that. And that to me is important, because if I don't do that, then I'm not the player that I want to be, and then I'm not the player that can actually play at that level. So it's you know, it's a funny thing that, and there's a lot of different stuff that motivates you and drives you over the years, and certainly I've got to a situation where I would just like to say, you know, by the time that Luca's old enough to actually understand what I did as a sportsman, and when the girls are old enough to understand that, you know, they can say that we were actually proud of what Dad achieved.
I want him to hold that World Cup in October, the final. I want that so bad. Not just because but especially him missing 3 World Cups, and I just want him to have everything. Like, he's given his everything, and I'd love him to have everything.
With time running out, he has to expose himself to the rigours of Test match rugby once more. Will his repaired knee allow him to answer his instincts at high speed and intensity? Will he possess the fearlessness demanded of international defence, or will there be lingering doubts? Will he prove to his coaching staff, and perhaps most importantly to himself, that he warrants selection as a player, let alone as a captain? The loneliest part of this road to recovery is that he alone will have to answer these questions. If Jean de Villiers is the man that leads the Springboks to the World Cup, he will have endured the sternest examination yet of an extraordinary career.